So I picked up the Hasselblad X2D a little over 2 full years ago. Back in early 2024, I ended up selling a bit of kit to pick up this bad boy with my own money, and let me tell you, I've used the hell out of it. And so in this video, I wanted to go over my thoughts, my reflections as a landscape photographer after 2 full years of hard use of the Hasselblad X2D, ultimately answering whether or not I think it's worth the time, the money to pick this guy up in 2026. So I'm doing a long exposure, about 23 seconds, and it's really going to smooth out all these waves here. Of course, you're under constant threat of getting your gear soaked, but I remember back in 2024, I had a little bit of an identity crisis as a photographer. Back then, I still had gear acquisition syndrome. It's something that every photographer goes through. And when you do that, I feel like you really have a hard time finding your identity, and you let the acquisition of gear kind of dictate who you are or what sort of realm of photography you want to go into. So what this video isn't going to be is a tech review. I mean, this camera's over 3 years old now, and there's plenty of videos and material out there in case you're interested. Ultimately, I think what this video is for me is a reflection of core valuable attributes that I found when using this camera, and ultimately how this camera helped form and shape my style as a landscape photographer after 2 years of hard use. This view. I'm about to take my first shutter with the Hassie. So the first thing that I absolutely love about the X2D is that it's a tank. It's crafted out of one piece of metal. It is incredibly durable. Throughout my use case, I've traveled to a number of countries with this camera over the past couple of years. I've traveled across and around the United States for a lot of live events. I've done in-studio work with this camera, and I have dropped it with a lens on more than one occasion. I am not a reckless photographer at all, but I also don't baby my gear. And Hassie has the scuffs to prove it. What I really find valuable in particular about its durability is how hot or cold it can get and still work just fine. I'm in the Midwest. We often experience really, really hot temperatures with very, very high humidity, over 100 degrees with a ton of humidity. And I've shot live events, outside concerts with this, no problem. The body does get hot, but it never overheats. And I've never gotten any sort of overheating signal, which is amazing. Conversely, I've shot in sub-zero temperatures with this. I've shot in the snow, I've shot in a blizzard, I've shot in the sleet. The camera has gotten ice rain all over it. And again, it is up to the task. It performs every time, every place. Really, the only thing that you have to be concerned with, especially when you get really cold, is that your fingers, as they lose their temperature, you will no longer be able to interact with the touchscreen. So I know the X2D Mark II has the addition of the joystick, which is super convenient. This one does not. And so whenever you use this camera and your hands are very, very cold, it just takes a bit more work to interact with the touchscreen because your hands, your fingerprints, it doesn't necessarily register. And we just lost power. We just lost power. We're going to be experiencing some pretty high winds today, on the verge of a Category 3 hurricane. So we are staying inside today. And yeah, we just lost power, so it's gonna be, oh, it just came back on. Just wild. The second thing I love about this camera is the thing that brings everybody else to this camera. It's the photo quality and it's the color science. It's a blessing and a curse because I no longer take photos on any other camera. So I typically will shoot my video on either Fuji or Lumix. I don't really take photos with those cameras anymore. I only take photos with this. The photo quality is just immaculate. The color science is amazing. You can push and pull the colors, the highlights, the lowlights as much as you'd like, which makes the files just a dream to edit and post. And it gets you a little bit spoiled because, like I said, I no longer shoot any photos with any other camera system. So be on the lookout for that. If you're on the fence about getting into this ecosystem, just know that that is a very real possibility and likely to happen.
You know what I want to do? I want to know what this looks like in the light that it's in.
This third reason might be an unpopular opinion. I've never heard anyone else talk about it, but I actually really appreciate how slow this camera makes you photograph. I am a slow shooter. As I said in the intro, I feel like it wasn't until I kind of discovered this camera, this ecosystem, that I felt like this is the camera for me, because I felt like at the time The other systems, the other technology, the other lenses they had, the other capabilities they had made me curious about exploring other types of photography that I wasn't necessarily called to or drawn to. So I love how slow this camera system makes you shoot. It's a bit of an unpopular opinion, I would guess, but obviously the X2D in particular really only has AFS or manual. But I really, really appreciate how the limitations of this camera make you stop and think and compose and then shoot. Because again, the thing doesn't move very fast. It doesn't have tracking. It has AFS. It has manual. It has limited AFC. Obviously less of an issue with any sort of landscape photography. But when I was doing a lot of live event and music photography over the past couple of years, it was actually really fun to shoot with this. I would typically flip it into manual and, f-stop around 5, 6 to 8, and you just kind of track old school manual focus tracking. And yeah, hit rate is a little less, but let me tell you, when you hit it and you nail focus, nothing can beat it. Absolutely nothing. Another reason why I appreciate just how slow this camera makes you shoot is you end up with less shots. You end up with less photos to edit. I don't know about you, but I love processing less photos. Now there's 2 reasons that's important. Number 1, less editing. That just saves you more time and more energy on the back end. My approach typically is not to overshoot. I much prefer to walk away with maybe 100, maybe 200 shots and maybe walk away with 10 to 20 finals than like 3,000 shots or like 1,000 shots and like 100 finals. That's just typically how I work. And the second thing why that's really important is file size. Everybody knows they're rather large. Every single photo is about 211 megabytes. So shooting less, shooting slower, it all comes back to data conservation and just storage on your device. And then again, for me, if I can come away with fewer shots that are absolutely nailed, that to me speaks just as loud as overshooting and coming away with a bunch more shots that are somewhat redundant. So the fourth and last reason is very similar to the third reason, and that's how the X2D really makes you be a lot more intentional in your approach to photography. Regardless of the setting, this camera really makes you slow down and be purposeful about how to craft an image. You're no longer just clicking shutter. You are crafting an image. Now, because of that, it's not for everybody at all. It's not for every photography style. Can it execute on other photography styles? Can it execute on all photography styles? Well, technically, yes, it can. But I think this camera really shines and is highlighted in very, very specific use case settings. Fortunately, landscape photography is one of those use case scenarios. My approach to landscape photography is very much in line with how this camera shines. The X2D helped me realize my photographic style. I like being slow. I like taking my time. I like things that are technically excellent and above par. I like cinematic yet natural storytelling. I like story-driven imagery. I like intent behind composition and the theory behind composition and how that speaks to kind of the human psyche of what looks good versus what looks bad. I enjoy aspects of color theory and how color plays a role in our emotions. And what do you know? The X2D has amazing color science. I think all of those things were unrealized a couple of years ago when I transitioned over to this ecosystem. But as I used it more and more, those are the things that really made me appreciate and kind of fully realize, oh yeah, I am inspired by these things. I see these aspects in my photography over and over and over again. And this camera helps highlight and showcase those types of aspects in my photography over and over and over again. And ultimately, it can get you some of the best desired results as long as all of the other elements are in place and in line and nailed. Focus, lighting, composition, everything else. When those things are there, when those elements are there, to me, this camera is unbeatable. So is this camera still worth purchasing in 2026? Well, what I can tell you is that it's, I think, a great value for its current price. Since its next iteration has come out, the X2D Mark II, with it being offered at a discount, I think in most retailers, it's never been more accessible. What I can't answer for you is what and how your photographic style lines up with the strengths of this camera. No, it's not the most tech savvy. No, it doesn't have the most bells and whistles. It doesn't even have the most lenses or lens choices. And its glass is at an extremely high barrier to entry. But what I can tell you is that because of its limitations and because of its drawbacks, but also because of its quality, it changed my style of photography. It helped me realize what style of photography I was really drawn into. And I don't know if that can be said about other camera brands. But I think that's what makes it special to me. The X2D will always hold a very special place in my heart for that very reason, because ultimately it helped me realize what type of photographer I wanted to be. And for that, it's pretty special. Now, if you've ever been interested in going on your own photo tour, I offer tours now that you can find through my website at brollandmedia.com, or you can find through my socials and look up the tour information from there. I'd love to have you come on the tour. If you're interested or have any questions about it, feel free and reach out to my email directly or fill out an online submission form, and I'm happy to communicate with you that way as well. This year is going to be amazing because we are going at the tail end of August, which is still kind of summer season in Iceland. We're going to have longer days, longer light, and that means more opportunity to get your photos. Now, we only have limited spots, so I hope you can come and attend. I think it'll be a lot of fun. You'll walk away with some great photos, some great memories, and great experiences. So if you're interested, check out the itinerary through my website. I detail it all out there, where the locations will be, what we're going to be doing with a day-by-day breakdown. Again, all that information is under my tour section of my website, brollandmedia.com.